All right, let's talk about what government is doing to ensure there is ethical leadership in the public service. Recently, government launched a special unit aimed at decreasing corruption and fraud amongst public servants. Let's speak to Dr. Salomon Hoogenraad-Vermaak. He is the Chief Director of the Technical Assistance Unit from the Public Service and Administration Department. Thank you for making time, sir. President Cyril Ramaphosa was this morning bemoaning the lack of ethics in some government officials, and he spoke about the Public Administration Ethics, Integrity and Disciplinary Technical Assistance Unit, which was launched recently. How will the unit be institutionalizing ethics and integrity in the public service?
Good afternoon, Clement, and also your listeners. Indeed, the President did bemoan the fact that there seems to be a lack of ethics in the public service. And when we consider the involvement of public servants in corruption, it is easy to believe that that is true. But I want to start off by saying that the vast majority of our public servants are committed and law-abiding and ethical employees. So it's easy in that sense to work on ethics in the public service because you have a broad base to work from. So what we will do to institutionalize ethics, although it won't be a short-term process, because if you talk about culture, it's usually a 5-year cycle with 3 years that you test to see whether there's change. But we will focus on, first of all, leadership commitment in terms of ethical leadership and hold them accountable. Then also strengthen the ethics infrastructure that we have in the departments, especially the ethics officers who's designated to do the work of ethics officers, but also to strengthen the ethics committees. Then we will continue with monitoring and evaluation of policy implementation in terms of the norms and standards that we've created in the Chapter 2 of the Public Service Act, and then to make sure that this is actually carried out by the departments. Here I can just mention issues like acceptance of gifts, other remunerative work performance, conducting business with the state or organ of state, then also the issue of financial disclosures and disclosing finances, and then lifestyle audits. And then lastly, in terms of institutionalizing ethics, we will also help and assist the ethics officers to determine their ethics risks, so that we will have later towards the end of this year ethics survey, where we will do a survey on all 3 spheres of government to determine what the ethics risks are, so that the ethics officers can use that as a baseline to develop their own strategies and implementation plans. And that will also assist the unit to see where we can assist and where we can provide support to the departments.
What else will the unit be doing as well? How is it going to help practically with the measures that you've mentioned? How is that going to help deal with corruption in the public service?
The first, the unit has its mandate in terms of the Public Administration Management Act, Section 15. So the unit will, obviously, it's a technical assistance unit, so it will take the hands of the departments, the ethics officers, the ethics committees, to see what is the issues in that particular areas, especially the vulnerable areas, and then to introduce policies and strategies to address that. So that is the first mandate in terms of the Public Administration Management Act. But then we also are tasked to develop norms and standards, which we then have to institute across the public service, so that we have one set of norms and standards. That we do through guides and through also training measures, closely working with the National School of Government. Then we also will build capacity in the different institutions, the government departments, especially to deal with discipline management, training the presiding officers, and also to help by monitoring the reporting per month on the cases, so that we can see where there is challenges and not. But then also to strengthen the government's oversight of ethics, integrity and discipline by monthly monitoring public servants involved in conducting business with the state, public servants doing other remunerative financial disclosures that they have to disclose at certain times. So that will also support them. And in general, just to promote and enhance good ethics and integrity by having been seminars and sessions, also ethics officer forums where we help and assist them.
Yeah. Doesn't this replicate the capacity and the skills that already exist in the public service, especially when it comes to the role of instituting disciplinary action against employees in cases of misconduct?
In a certain way, it will look like it's replicating the work that's already been done. But I think it's rather complex than replicate, because departments are responsible for their own discipline management, but we find that they don't capture information or they don't take action in terms of the timeframes that is set by law. So you do need some oversight mechanism to improve accountability, to make sure that the departments do this. And this unit, furthermore, also has a coordination function, where for the first time you have a central unit that will oversee the relationships to make sure that things get done and things are in place and that can keep one another accountable. So working through the ACTT, this is an ideal opportunity, because the heads of these different law enforcement units sit in the ACTT. So if there's a problem with certain investigations, so you can raise it easily. And there's also a lot of goodwill in the ACTT to assist with these. And the ACTT is the anti-corruption task team that all the law enforcement agencies and anti-corruption agencies sit in. Then also, this unit has a perfect opportunity to share information with one another, where we then complete the picture or the puzzle on a much broader level. And we also sanitize information, because we can share information and see where some of us do have gaps and some not. And that you can't get in any other unit created already. And then also to share best practices that you experience. So at the end of the day, you sit with a lot of rich information that you can use to determine your policy successes and also where you need to intervene to create pockets of excellence in the public service.
Mm-hmm. Have you set the norms and standards on ethics and integrity yet, and even the conduct of employees?
One can say yes, we did. But that would not be true in the sense that norms and standards every day you need to change and to make sure that it's up. We did in 2016, we revised the public service regulations, and that was after almost 10 years of not looking at the public service code of conduct. So we have in Chapter 2 a whole set of norms and standards in terms of what is required of a public servant. And this is, of course, informed by the Constitution, Section 195, that requires a high level of professional ethics of public servants. So we did establish the norms and standards. You will see that it deals with issues such as you cannot conduct business with a state. If you do, it's a criminal offense and you will be prosecuted. You cannot accept gifts as a public servant for work that you're doing. And that is something that we have in the public service, but still public servants do accept gifts and members of the public do give gifts. So there's a lot of work around the advocacy and awareness of these norms and standards. Although we have it, it can improve and it should improve, because we change every day as individuals. One thing that is still amiss in the public service regulations, for example, is the use of social media, which we are currently reviewing and seeing how we can strengthen that.
Yeah, no, let's hope this unit is going to help in providing that necessary oversight, and just urging the department to also take disciplinary action against employees that are found not to act in accordance with the norms and standards. What have you picked up so far since your unit started doing the work? What have you picked up in the public service so far in terms of irregularities?
things that we are currently busy to sort out is the fact that a lot of departments do not know that when there is criminal conduct in their departments, they should report that in terms of the law under the Public Administration Management Act to this new unit, so that we can actually then start to play a role, because if we don't know it, we won't play a role. But we found that there's a lot of goodwill, especially among those people that do play a role with us in the law enforcement space, like the National Prosecuting Authority, the DPCI, SARS, SAPS, and so forth, where we work together in the Fusion Center, which is a center that was created under the Anti-Corruption Task Team that prioritize all these priority crimes that involves public servants, like the PPE fraud and so forth. And here, there's a good lot of cooperation. And we also found that a lot of the identified public servants, where there's figures like 23,000, 16,000, 17,000, the moment you start going through them and analyze them, and we run it through the PERSAL system, which is the personnel salary system of government, you find out that it's actually less people than what is reported on. So that is a good level of comfort that I have, that it looks like at least it's over-reporting and not under-reporting. And that is one of the areas that we then provide a service.
Yeah, no, given the state of our public service, good luck. You've got a lot of work ahead of you. Dr. Salomon Hoogenraad-Vermaak